The topography of Sweden. So Sweden is basically pretty south in the southern parts, but the more north you get, the more mountains you'll see. I wonder if this is also why Sweden's population density is exclusively in the south. Well, that and, I mean, this part is like insanely cold, that is, and we're getting close to the North Pole. So here's a map of their population density, but I do find it funny that they border one of the most mountainous nations in all of Europe, Norway. So how did they get stuck with all the flat area? How'd they get all the good stuff? Norway is just one massive mountain, basically. They got no room here. I've seen these Texan borders many times, but it never ceases to amaze me. They actually had this for 10 years while they were independent. I like how when the US absorbed them though, they kept this monstrosity, whatever the hell this is, but turned it sideways and gave it to Oklahoma. Cause what exactly does go on here? Is there something exclusive that can only be done in extremely long squared borders like this? Is this where we ask the aliens to land to first? Is this some sort of void where we banish people to the Shadow Realm? Either way, Texas kind of started it first, and it lives on to this day. Here's a 2021 United States Postal Service regional map. They divide us into 4 categories. I have no idea why. There's the Western Pacific Retail and Delivery Area, which for some reason covers a vast majority of the US. Like, it almost is directly half of the country. Then there's the Atlantic Retail and Delivery Area, all of the Northeast, basically. Then there's the Central Retail and the Southern Retail. Now, I'm assuming this has directly to do with population. But when it comes to delivery, you would think that like this massive distance would make a difference. I know how a lot of people don't live in these 3 states, but this is just such a big area. And I love that this is just named Dakotas, like screw Montana, right? This is just Seattle, which for some reason gets the Idaho panhandle. Speaking of panhandles, actually, forgot about that one. This is all Portland, but then once you go south, California gets divided into multiple regions. Just LA alone is that small little square right there. Wait a second, is the San Francisco region even correctly named? Because this is called the Bay Valley. San Francisco is there. It's on the southern part of this peninsula. This is not San Francisco. I am really enjoying what USPS doesn't consider a state, because they're considering a lot of places not even real states. This honestly looks like just a bad map. This is all Detroit. Why? Mississippi doesn't have that part of Alabama. Just why? They don't even go to the Panhandle. Maybe that is what this is for. The Panhandle is for nothing, not receiving any packages, because screw it. Here's a map of Europe showing the average elevation above sea level. As one would expect, Switzerland has among the highest 1350 meters too. I was gonna say feet. I'm sorry, my disgusting imperial system is showing. Holy crap, look how high this small microstate is. For a second there, I thought this was saying 1996, like it was discovered in 1996. I guess this explains why this region of Europe is called the Lowlands. Netherlands is on average only 30 meters above sea level. That's kind of scary. Again, this is average, so they have to accumulate all the biggest peaks and flat areas. It's gonna get pulled up. That's why I'm guessing Sweden is even at 320. Denmark might exist now, but maybe there is some legitimacy that it doesn't exist, because maybe it won't exist for very long. It also has a very low average sea level. It's strange because I know that there are some very flat areas of Russia, but this number is definitely being adjusted for like all the rough terrain and all the mountains they have in Siberia. They look like they'd be higher up with this number than you'd expect. So this lady drove across the US and visited a sawmill to cut up some of the wood from each state. Kentucky's Grave Lumberyard, Tennessee's Smoky Mountain Vintage Lumber. I like New Mexico's name in Albuquerque, Exotic Woods. I'd expect to see something weird there. I'm actually kind of surprised to see that there aren't more sawmills around the US. Like, how is that possible that we have so little? I don't think my high school had a woodworking class, so now I'm kind of depressed I can't do this. The street layout in my city. This almost gives me like an aneurysm. I feel like I'm more prone to having some sort of seizure right now. Why? I don't even think this should bother me as much as it does, but it's seriously bothering me. Who does this? Okay, I feel a lot better looking at this huge scale model of the Port of Montreal at the Port HQ. Oh, this is beautiful, actually. I love these small, like, miniatures. I would be ashamed to say how long I just stare at stuff like this. When I went to Hawaii, they also have a similar creation of Pearl Harbor. You just, like, stare and look at, like, all the different facilities and things like that. Like, we should do this with every place. We should just make a miniature of Earth. Extremely detailed. I don't know why. Probably a waste of the economy, but whatever. So that previous one was the Port of Montreal. This is in Montreal, topographic map. So this whole thing is just surrounded by like a river. This is giving me like the Nile River vibes. Is this extremely fertile land? I wonder. Also, look at this giant mountain right here. Where would you put the city at? There's a lot of things going on. Map of the US with stickers that I've collected throughout the past 6 months. And I love that all the stickers are different ratios and sizes. Very tiny Texas. This doesn't feel right. Also a tiny Florida and a giant Georgia. This is a strange looking USA, but I guess you kind of have to do it like this. Imagine all the northeastern states. Rhode Island would just be like on your fingertip. What would happen if the mouth of the Congo River were dammed? You know what? I've seen this in certain mods, certain game mods. There's just like a massive lake right here in the middle of Africa, but seeing it go up to Lake Chad and then like filling up Lake Chad, that would be pretty Chad. What kind of ecological damage would we do if we just did this for like 6 months? You think the consequences would last thousands of years? Here's another map of the Republic of Texas, which did last between 1836 and 1845. I think this one really highlights just how weird the borders are. It was a strange one, touching all the way up to Wyoming. I remember this also happening in a game once, and I just thought it was so unrealistic. I was like, this is stupid. I had no idea that that is actually what they look like at one point. Language map of China, and I don't even know where to begin. What is this even saying? So I know that there are a lot of different types of Chinese, but it's not just Chinese here. We've got a little bit of Korean, and I didn't realize how much more Mongolia reaches out. It sounds like the Great Mongol Empire has a claim to these lands. Be careful there, China. So this is where most of the diversity in the Chinese language comes from, the southern part of China. Is that fair to say? Look how tiny and small it gets over here, but they can still understand each other, right? If it's, well, I don't know. It's hard to compare some of these to other languages, which probably aren't very similar at all. Like the map just kind of encompasses all languages, I guess. So I keep hearing about this massive winter storm across the US. I know it's really affecting Texas and like these states right now, but I didn't realize how far north it goes. Low temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And then that is affecting other areas like the Northeast, even the deep south between 0 degrees and 32. So it's still freezing. The only parts that are being saved right now is Florida and California. Hey man, there's been a breeze in California recently, and I'll be getting a little chilly sometimes. Here's a map of the different elements and animals in the Chinese New Year. I've always wondered what some of the other years were. Like, I don't know why it's taken me this long in life to come across something like this. So it looks like there are years of the rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, but then there are these different sort of elements, the yang wood, yang fire, yang earth, yang metal. So last year was the year of the rat and yang metal. Now it's the year of the ox and it's yin metal. I don't know about you guys, but this does feel like an upgrade. Maybe things are looking better. Some of the other animals that they have is snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, pig. So the Chinese New Year goes through a different rotation every 12 years, and the elements rotate every 10 years, but usually 2 years together. We only gotta wait till 2028, boys, to return to monkey. It's about time. Map of the US according to a trucker who has been all around the US, and I believe this post got removed, so you know it's gonna be good. The fresh oranges are almost worth going to Bakersfield. Everything else is nope, nope, and hot weed. There's an Area 51 themed truck stop here and a Oh, I actually think I know what he's talking about. Have you ever wondered what potatoes, onions, and cowish combined smell like? Wonder no more. Interesting statement about Oregon and Idaho there. It always rains here, and there's a lot of apples in Washington. I never heard of that. As I type this, the wind chill is 44 below zero. I guess that explains why just a little further south, it's called the America's Wind Tunnel. Right in the Four Corner area, he says it's a great drive, but if the weather's not good, it's hell. Say what you will about Mormons, they know how to plan a city. Oh, Utah. At least in Finland, you can leave the sauna and jump in the snow. Not here. Surprises is the only big thing to say about Texas and Whataburger. The Florida Man legends are true, I'm afraid. That's why Florida is so epic. It definitely lives up to the hype. Georgia's basically the Daytona 500, but with no talent. The drivers had no talent. Big old cornfield. That's all it is. Big old cornfield. There's a Burger King in Iowa that looks like it's from 1986 and probably hasn't been cleaned since then either. The ultimate fighting words, Wisconsin doesn't have as good of cheese as Oregon. Bro, I'm pretty sure you're banished from Wisconsin for the rest of your life. You know, I've actually heard that Michigan has good pizza. This is not the first time. Last time he was in the East Coast, he thought about changing careers. Seatbelts are not required in New Hampshire? Let's go. I'm about to go on the highway at night in New Hampshire, turn off my lights, take off my seatbelt, close my eyes, and let the steering wheel go. It's gonna be fun. Arizona is basically a testament to the stubbornness of humanity. Never really talked to many people from Arizona, but okay. Here's a chart of the population of Russia. This is gonna be sad. Some bad things happening in the late 1920s and early 1930s. So it kind of hovered around 103 million. This massive highlighted thing is obviously kind of a big event for Russia. Insane drop in the line right here. So by the time they started the 1950s, their population was about the same as 20 years before that. But But when you compare that to 1975, it's like their population tripled. Peak Russian population was in 1992, fall of the Soviet Union. So I'm assuming, wait a second. So was this data just looking at USSR population and then when they lost everything and splintered apart? How exactly did this work? You would think it would just drop. There's no way you were just looking at Russia, right? Either way, Russia's population has been just a slow decline. There's a little bit of a rise though. Germany's population density as a joy plot map, which is like a old band, but this is a really cool way to show it. So many Germans live next to the lowland countries in France. East Germany doesn't have a whole lot of population, but when they do, it's just in one part. Look at this massive mountain right here. Most followed individual science-related accounts on social media. This is combining YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook followers. I like David Attenborough. Then there's Adam Savage, who it seems like most of this list has a lot of their followers from YouTube, except for Bill Nye. I mean, Bill Nye is just kind of a legend. Michael Stevens. Be careful, Vsauce. It's Michael here. He really needs to be #1. He's not too far behind Mark Rober, though. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson. All of his followers come from Twitter. That is crazy. Total distance traveled by this Grandmaster's chess piece. Obviously, the pawns aren't moving much, but it is interesting to see his C pawn getting like the most distance somehow. The pawns on the right-hand side of the board don't really move much for his strategies. Queens obviously are going to move among the most, but not the most entirely. The kingside rook. He really uses this guy 1,200 meters. Is that the squares traveled? Even the king kind of moving a lot too. Look at that. But is that mostly coming from that move where you like most commented subreddits between 2018 and 2021. NBA pops up every time the seasons are going strong. It's funny because you're going to see like a lot of popular trends that aren't as popular anymore. Certain video games, certain events are probably going to bring up things. I think I saw like WWE's subreddit. So Ask Reddit is just going to kill it. Finally, the NFL shows up. They were not showing up for a while there. Oh, Wall Street bets. Uh-oh. I forgot about that one. Memes beat out our politics for a little bit. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. You're going to have the election and it's just going to get mad. It's just madness. Oh, that's nice. It's gonna drop out. Oh no, it's still kind of there. All right, so big events definitely. Wow. Yep. I figured that one. They were getting 1,000 new subscribers a minute on average during those days. Relationship of film length and IMDB rating. Wait a second. So if I'm reading this right, you need to be making 50-minute films because those are going to be the highest rated. People like shorter stuff. You don't want to touch a lot of these just under 2-hour movies. Hour-and-a-half movies are bad. When you get to the 3-hour range, yeah, if you're going to make a 3-hour epic, I mean, I think people just got to rate it high. Just you tried really hard, man. You deserve this 10. I'm assuming these 50-minute films are like short, maybe more experimental, maybe, I don't know, earlier in a filmmaker's career. I really wish they would have told us this in the very beginning, but this includes TV episodes. That's why this is high. No one's gonna watch season 6, episode 3 of The Big Bang Theory and rate it low. I mean, if you're that deep into the lore, you're just gonna be into it. Social media, when each platform generating its peak buzz, according to Google. This is from Google search volume. The biggest month for MySpace was July 07. I think I created my MySpace like in 2006 or something like that. So I was there for that event. It was crazy. I don't even know what Bebo is. Is that? I don't know what that is. This is what I don't get about Facebook. How is Facebook still so popular? If it peaked in December 12, I just don't understand how it still has so much power. This is using Google Trends, and I fall into this trap a lot. Once someone's like in a social media platform, they aren't Googling it anymore. They're using their apps or they have things bookmarked. They don't search Twitter on Google anymore. Like it's gonna go down. Like things like this, it's gonna go lower. So that might be something that makes this information not as reliable. Top 5 countries by export. Revenues of flowers in 2019. So who is exporting the most flowers and who has the most revenue in flowers? Of course it's the Netherlands. I didn't know that they were actually that good at export. I know the Netherlands are known for like what, their tulips or something. Then it's Colombia, Ecuador, Kenya, and Ethiopia. Huge drop off though there. Ethiopia is still trying to get into that game, that flower game. Why am I imagining just like a creepy person like sniffing like, oh yeah. Thanks to the February patrons. France doesn't exist. Roomel 57. I'm about a nut. The Glen Council. Thick Boy 3000. Stormtrooper 501. RalseiTree. AryanAfterHours. Pobsnitz. Pelovski. Patrick C. Manny 74. Mac. LuxembourgLover. FusionWolf. Full Send Nick. EpiNick. Elijah Senpai. Dalton D. Anikiti. And BallinLikeStalin.